as fortune would have it, on the same day, Brian and I lost each other in this store. And when we walked out, we had the exact same shirt. And we couldn't believe that we had bought the same shirt. We were talking about how if you can't see the prices, the colors, the sizes that well, the first way you tell quality is by grabbing it and touching it. And this particular shirt that we had both bought was extremely soft. And it was in that moment that a light bulb went off.
Welcome to Mindful Businesses, presented by Sarani. I'm your host, Vidya Iyer. In our podcast, we bring to you brands which are mindful in their practices and processes. A mindful business adopts and employs sustainable social, economic, and environmental practices. We have with us Bradford and Brian Manning from Two Blind Brothers, the creators of ultra soft clothing with the sole purpose to fund the cure for blindness. Welcome, Brian and Bradford.
Well, thank you so much for having us.
We're excited to talk to you.
Could you talk about how and when you were diagnosed with the disease?
Sure. So this is Brad. I'm the older brother, the wiser, better looking brother.
Or he just jumps over top of me, one of the two.
But so because I'm 5 years older than Brian, I was diagnosed first. And that story basically started when I failed the kindergarten eye chart, which started this 2-year hunt to try to figure out what had happened to my eyesight. And after lots of doctors and misdiagnoses, I was in a particular specialist's office, and he did a test, and he came back in and he told my mother and myself that I had Stargardt's disease. And Stargardt's disease, it's a juvenile form of macular degeneration where you lose your center vision over time. You keep a decent amount of your peripheral vision usually. And at that time, it was really rough news for my mother. She didn't know what it meant. The doctor said there's no cure, and we don't know how quickly or how dramatically, I would lose my eyesight. And, the only saving grace was when we got back in the car, my mom said, enough of this, it's time to party. And she took me to Friendly's ice cream. I got a giant sundae, and then we went to Blockbuster, and I got the movie Air Bud, which was the dog that can shoot 3-pointers and won a high school basketball game. And I remember sitting there thinking that this was one of the best days of my whole life.
What an awesome mom you have. And what about you, Brian? So you probably got it just around the same age?
Yes, I was diagnosed basically at the same age. I had a significantly shorter diagnosis process because they had an idea of what they were looking for. And 5 years later, medicine had come along a little ways. And I also went to Friendly's, but I got Airbud 2, Golden Receiver. It's a dual threat dog. And it was a great day all around.
So are you both considered legally blind now?
Yeah, so legal blindness starts at a vision acuity of 2200, and sort of typical vision is around 2020. So Brian and I's vision is between 2200 and 2400, depending on the day and depending on the eye.
How many Americans are affected by this disease, the juvenile version and the macular degeneration?
So there are 11 million Americans who suffer from retinal eye disease. And as you pointed out, macular degeneration is the most common affliction. And for Brad and I's disease, Stargardt's, it's about 1 in 10,000 people suffer from Stargardt's.
How did you think about starting the brand? What was your background? Were you in fashion? Were you in the retail space? Who came up with the idea?
No, not at all. Brian and I were about as far from a charitable online fashion clothing brand as possible. I was working in business development for a small investment firm. Brian was doing sales for a data company. And one day we were both in New York shopping at a Bloomingdale's, and we had been talking recently about some of the medical advancements that have been made. For example, there was a kid named Yannick Douay, this is back in the early 2000s, who was treated with an experimental gene therapy that ended up being developed by a company called Spark Therapeutics. But this kid had a rare condition called LCA where he was blind, and this gene therapy actually reversed his condition. And we were just talking about how exciting that was. And, as fortune would have it, on the same day, Brian and I lost each other in this store. And when we walked out, we had the exact same shirt. And we couldn't believe that we had bought the same shirt. We were talking about how if you can't see the prices, the colors, the sizes that well, the first way you tell quality is by grabbing it and touching it. And this particular shirt that we had both bought was extremely soft. And it was in that moment that a light bulb went off. What if this could be our project? What if we could focus on making the softest shirts in the entire world with a vigilance to comfort and sense of touch, and use it as a vehicle to give back by giving 100% of the profits back to preclinical research to help try to find that next cure like the one that Yannick benefited from. And that's when we decided to launch our brand, Two Blind Brothers.
So what makes your T-shirt extra soft?
Oh, it all comes down to the fabric. We have the single most beautiful, most luxurious, most fantastic fabric on the planet. It's like holding magic in your hands every time you touch it.
So if I can interrupt you both for a second, I wanted to share something that happened with me last week. I went for a routine eye checkup to my doctor, and I happened to mention to him, hey, I'm really excited. I'm going to be talking to these two brothers who make the T-shirts, which hope to help find the cure for blindness. And he said, are the T-shirts soft? And I said, yes. So that was kind of an exciting moment for me when I found somebody who could connect and relate to you.
Oh, that feels so good. Thank you so much for sharing that, because we put all of the love, energy, passion, our whole team here basically just lives and dies by this idea of we are making the most beautiful, luxurious, soft, comfortable, fantastic product that we possibly can. And, you put your whole self into it and you think it's going to be amazing, and you know in your heart that it's amazing, but it's so wonderful to hear positive feedback. It makes my day still.
What is so different about just a very soft T-shirt? You have some braille embossed to tell the people the color and other features of the T-shirt.
Yeah, so basically, Brian and I got pulled out of school in middle school to learn braille, and growing up, it was kind of like a unique skill that we shared together. We didn't know anyone else who knew braille or was learning braille, and luckily we have some vision, and so generally we either use text to speech or we use large print. But when we started the brand, it was a chance for us to pull braille back into the design. And, part of it is it really serves two purposes for us. One is, we're sick of these logos that people just put in the middle of their shirts that really have no meaning. And for us, Braille was always a secret message. It was a way for us to connect. When we incorporated it into the design, it was a nod to our experience and to the visually impaired and blind community. But also, it's functional. If you can't see, you can grab that shirt and you'll know what color you're wearing. And for somebody that normally has to take out a phone to get it to tell it to try to describe the color, or to get a friend to tell them or a family member to tell them what color they're wearing, or to try to label it themselves in some way, this was our way to make it easy and make it a part of the design as well.
So as a sighted person, we are fortunate enough to not even think about these very rudimentary things. Like, I want a black shirt, I just go to my closet and pick it up. And for me, it was eye-opening when I saw your website on my mobile device, and you have a small eye on the left-hand corner where a sighted person can touch and sort of experience, not completely, a little bit of what your vision what your site looks like. How did you come up with that?
It's so funny because that is usually, if not the first, one of the first 5 questions somebody asks you when you have bad eyesight. It always is, oh, can you tell me about that? How do you actually see, and can you see me? Because vanity always slips in somewhere. But we wanted to put a little something on our website so that we could give a nod to people to say, hey, if you want to have an idea, click on this button, to just give that impression, give that little bit of understanding. And it won a design award by Shopify, which was really amazing. And we're hoping to integrate other diseases into that same selector eventually so that you can actually feel the full breadth of what it's like to lose your vision.
What are the products that you carry besides t-shirts? Right now, is it only t-shirts? And I think you have men's, women's, and children.
We've been actually expanding the product line a lot this year. Basically, we consider our brand within sort of the casual wear basics category. So anything that you can wear that's soft and makes you feel comfortable is something that we're trying to add to the collection. So right now we have t-shirts, hoodies, polos, 3-button Henley shirts, V-necks. We are very shortly introducing a French terry shorts and a zip-up hoodie. We're launching socks. We have some accessories as well that fall outside of that. We just launched a pair of sunglasses that has been doing extraordinarily well for some unique reasons. But anything under the casual wear category is something that we consider part of the brand.
Where are the t-shirts made?
They are produced in California, outside of LA. They're, from yarn to last button, they are made in California.
That's refreshing to find out that we still have some manufacturing here in the United States, which can make a good quality product.
Well, to be honest, Brad and I think, are just so crazy about this stuff that we wouldn't let it go too far away. I can hop on a plane and be in California in 5 hours if needed. When we first started the brand, we actually were doing manufacturing in New York City, as you can imagine what that would look like, because we just wanted to be as close to the beginning product as possible, just to keep an eye on it.
And actually, one of the things that people really appreciate about the brand as well is that some of our products are actually made by facilities that sort of hire primarily blind and visually impaired workers. In the past, we've worked with Dallas Lighthouse for the Blind. Currently, we're working with an organization in North Carolina called Industries for the Blind. And it's sort of a way to, not only stay true to our mission, which is to help give funds to research, but actually do what we can today and help provide opportunities to folks who, obviously share the same experience we have with our vision.
So how did you get funding to start this project?
We funded it ourselves. We're very fortunate that, it happened pretty organically. Brian and I were focusing on this only on our nights and weekends until we started to get some publicity. Basically, after we got a big endorsement from the Ellen DeGeneres show, which led to a snowball of other opportunities, that's when we looked at each other and said, hey, we need to hire someone to help us. we need a fulfillment center. We need to actually professionalize this organization. So whether it was right or wrong, we waited until we were in a position where we had a lot of momentum to be able to bring those resources to bear, and we've just financed it ourselves. Where we. So
how is your company set up? Is it set up as a for-profit, nonprofit, or a for-profit with a nonprofit outcome?
Yeah. So just for simplicity's sake, we originally set it up as an LLC, but for a variety of reasons, because the project is entirely, charitable, we're actually playing with the structure a little bit. We're setting up with the Two Blind Brothers Foundation, which is a 501c3, which will allow us to take direct donations. and do some other things, as well as we've talked to folks at not a lot of people know this, but the salad dressing company Newman Zone gives 100% of its profits to charity, and they have some very unique structures set up. So it's something we're constantly evaluating, but for simplicity's sake, we originally started with just a simple LLC structure.
So how much did the Two Blind Brothers Foundation give to charity? You've been in operation just about 2 years, right? 2016 or?
Yeah, we've been in operation a little over 3 years now, and Two Blind Brothers to date, and this is a number we're incredibly proud of, has donated right about $500,000 to retinal research.
Wow, I'm speechless.
When we saw that figure, I was basically as floored as anybody in the world.
How close do you think we are to finding a cure for macular degeneration or any retinal disease?
Extremely close in certain ways and further in others. Retinal eye disease is a giant category, just like, cancer. There are about 250 genes that regulate your retina. And so, for example, with the story we said earlier about Yannick Douay with Leber's congenital amaurosis (LCA), that is a disease controlled by one gene, and that essentially has a very effective therapy that was approved last year in January. And so we're getting closer and closer. There's probably 30 clinical trials right now, all tackling different aspects, different diseases. Some slow the progression, some are trying to reverse the progression of certain diseases. Stargardt's, our particular disease, is probably a little further out than some others for a variety of reasons. One being that the Stargardt's gene, ABCA4, is a little bit bigger than what the current effective gene therapies are targeting. So, but the exciting thing is that the science is validated. There are treatments that are being used in people's eyes and in other conditions across the body that show that things like gene therapies, stem cell therapies, gene editing, optogenetics actually are effective. So we see it as more of a matter of time and funding than as a question of if.
What about the orphan product development? So the FDA established this office in 1983 where it gave biotech companies which were trying to find a cure for very rare diseases, an orphan drug status, which provided tax reduction. So I know you spoke about the gene therapy. So are there some biotech pharma companies working on trying to find a cure for this disease and blindness?
Yeah, so that orphan drug designation helps tremendously for conditions like ours. It also doesn't hurt that I think I heard last week that there are 380 gene-related clinical trials outside of the eye going on. And truthfully, all of these learn from each other. There's plenty of companies. I can probably think of about 5 or 6 off the top of my head that are currently working on Stargardt's disease, our condition. But absolutely, it's we're sort of living through a medical revolution, and Brian and I try to get people excited about that.
So how old are you and Brian right now?
This is Brian. I'm 28 years old, and Brad is, what are you now, 34?
That's right, 34, going strong.
Keeping up.
So about for 29 years, you have struggled with this disease. Where can one buy these products?
Well, you can come to our website, which is blind, brothers.com, and you can find some of the greatest clothing that has ever been created, and know that everything that you buy, 100% of the profits is going back towards helping find a cure for 11 million people.
Do you guys pay yourself at all?
Brad and I right now are on a New York City minimum wage salary. That's so we can be on the company health insurance, but we donate that salary back to research anyways.
So you have a storefront, or you don't have a storefront?
Not yet. We haven't gone brick and mortar quite yet. It's something we've looked at, but we are not all the way there.
So do you do pop-ups in different locations, or it's all just online?
Occasionally we'll do events. It's mostly for the community here in New York City, our friends who have helped us along the way with the project. our super fan customers, and frankly to have some fun with the team here. But the cool thing is that 15 years ago, if we were to start this project, we would have had a really hard time finding people that resonated with this cause. There probably were some trade publications we could have tried to advertise in, but the truth is, because of technology, the digital age, social media, we get a lot of leverage on our content and on our story and on our mission when we send it out online, because like no other time can your niche project that speaks to your own specific audience get in front of them. It's just a very, very efficient medium for reaching folks.
Thank you, Bradford and Brian, for your openness in talking about your disease and the generosity in donating to find a cure for blindness. If you're a creator of a mindful brand or would like to recommend a mindful brand to be featured on our show, send us a message on our Facebook or Instagram page. We recorded this podcast at Q1067 in Lafayette, Indiana. Tatum Gale composed the music for this podcast. This is Mindful Businesses with Vidya Iyer.